Hello and welcome, folks. We appreciate you being here today. My name's Adam Crown. I'm going to be today's MC for our webinar around HCP 360, Commercial Effectiveness with Data and AI. We're going to get started officially at 9:02 Pacific, so we're going to give folks just a few more moments to join us. Meantime, feel free to top up on that coffee and get ready for a great session here. Looking forward to interacting with you all today. All right, it is 9:02 Pacific. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. My name's Adam Crown. I'm going to help lead off our call today around HCP 360 commercial effectiveness with data and AI. Couldn't be more thrilled for today's discussion. And just before we get started, I wanted to cover a few things. So first and foremost, because this is a webinar, your connection is muted. You don't have the ability to speak to us on the panel, but we definitely want to hear from you. We want to have interactivity throughout. We've got Databricks as well as Fractal Analytics experts who are on the call who can help take any questions you all have. So please ask us through the Q&A feature at the bottom of Zoom. You'll see a little button that has a question mark. If you click on that, drop in your question. We'll take that throughout today's call. We'll do our best to answer them throughout the discussion. In the event we're not able to answer questions, we'll take that offline and we'll send you a direct response. But meantime, feel free to interact with our panelists. Today's session will be recorded. We will send it out within 48 hours. So looking forward to officially sending that. And before we kick off today, I wanted to cover a little bit about our agenda. So first and foremost, Mark Lee, who's the Senior Director for Industry Solutions at Databricks, is going to walk through the data intelligence platform for healthcare and life sciences. He's going to walk through capabilities in the Databricks data intelligence platform about how to get started with commercial effectiveness. So you'll see themes around unifying your data, securing and governing that data with Unity Catalog, bringing intelligence to that data through models, and then how you can share that across your internal and external ecosystems. And then we're going to have Fractal Analytics jump on. Sagar Shah, who's one of the leaders from Fractal, is going to walk through a demo for Omnichannel Decision Engine with next best action. And he's going to show us how we can actually take all of these principles we've learned throughout today's webinar and put them into practice. And then we'll officially wrap up the webinar. So meantime, if you've got any questions, feel free to answer or ask those within the Q&A function. So without further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Mark. Mark, feel free to take it away. Mark, you're on mute.
Whoops. Oh, hey, folks. My name is Mark Lee. I lead our industry ecosystems for healthcare and life sciences and work very extensively with Adam Crown and other folks on the call. And I think it's a really good time to talk a little bit about commercial effectiveness. And now we can look at generating more revenue for a lot of companies within the healthcare and life sciences industries. So for folks who are not aware of Databricks, we are a very large company today. We have more than 15,000 global customers. We have more than $4 billion in annual revenue and more than $15 billion in investment. Recently, we did announce the closing of our Series K, and one of the major initiatives as closing the Series K was understanding how we can actually really use our technology to benefit the healthcare and life sciences industry, as well as other industries as a whole. We are the inventors of the Lakehouse and pioneers of generative AI technologies. We are also a recognized leader within database management systems, data science, and machine learning platforms. And very importantly, we are the creators of open source formats like Delta Lake, machine learning platforms like MLflow, ETL processing engines like Apache Spark, as well as a governance layer in Unity Catalog. And via our acquisition of Tabular, we are also one of the major contributors to Apache Iceberg as well. So what Databricks does across the entire industry is you provide a very powerful platform that allows you to marry many different concepts from the data science world, the data engineering world, and the business intelligence world, all into a single holistic system that folks can utilize. And what we found is that this works pretty well within the healthcare life sciences industry. In fact, Databricks is actually working with 13 of the 15 largest global pharma today and work of 9 out of the 10 largest integrated delivery networks. And what's really important is that what we're offering to these particular folks within the industry is going to change depending on what their particular needs are. So for example, we work pretty heavily within the insurance systems with our payers, and we work with them to understand how we can do things like ED document processing, as well as understanding how we can surface information about different benefits for members. For providers, we're looking at how we can optimize the way hospitals actually operate in terms of beds. And we also work very heavily within a pharmacy distribution, within R&D, with government and consortia on figuring out how we can actually utilize the power of large bulk purchasing from these particular government organizations in order to reduce costs for their members. And we look at analytics and diagnostics companies, as well as biopharma and device companies. Generally speaking, we work across this entire ecosystem. And we actually we had a particular survey during Data I Summit 2025 this year. We asked our life sciences leaders across the entire industry for life sciences, what exactly is top of mind for them right now? And the major thing that our survey came back with was commercial effectiveness. So it seems like commercial effectiveness and the ability to generate revenue and figure out how they can actually leverage that is I would say, the number one topic going into the end of the year. So what is Databricks? Well, Databricks itself is going to be a very powerful platform. We call it a data intelligence platform, and it's able to integrate utilizing many different open source technologies and open source connectors. We're built within your cloud systems today, so we support AWS, Azure, as well as GCP. If you're in China, we also support Alibaba as well. And very importantly, we work with you to unify all of your different data sources into a single source of truth. We call that a Lakehouse environment, where we can basically take everything and put it within your cloud object storage. Now, we build a layer on top of that. That could be Delta Lake, that could be Apache Iceberg, that is just the Lakehouse system. And then very importantly, we release a very powerful catalog governance layer on top of it as well. This governance layer allows you to have a better understanding of what data that you actually have available, so you can surface that information for discovery, for exploratory data analysis, and also, and very importantly, controls auditing and lineage of that data to understand how data is being processed across your organization. Now, we can then surface that information over to multiple different use cases, such as Databricks SQL, where we look at how we can actually serve this data via data warehouses. Using our workflows technology, we talk about how we can actually build ETL orchestration processes to process that data. Using our Delta Live tables, or also known as Lakeflow pipelines now, how we can actually build declarative frameworks in order to help you automatically process both structured and unstructured data, as well as streaming and batch-based data. And very importantly, our Databricks machine learning platform, which is built off of our Mosaic AI technology, which allows us to run the gamut from classical machine learning to deep learning, and now to actually generative AI technologies. We'll showcase a little bit about that later. Now, we also work very heavily with our partners within the ecosystem as well. We understand that Databricks doesn't operate in a silo. So in order to really achieve this, we actually work with partners within data governance, within data pipelines, data ingestions, dashboarding, machine learning, and data science. And we do have a very powerful program that we work with our SI partners, our system integrators, called Brick Builder Solutions, where we look at different ways of actually taking particular solutions that we see work very well on Databricks and work very well for our customers to market, so they can actually be utilized by the rest of the industry at large. Now, Databricks traditionally has been a data and IT company, so we have sold specifically to IT departments, but we do understand that a lot of the major needs in the world today are not going to be only from the IT department, but are going to address actual patient needs and business needs. So what we've been doing is we've actually been pivoting and understanding what the actual industry itself is requiring today. So we actually sub-verticalized into our healthcare and life sciences. We have our life sciences industry and our healthcare industry, where we look at very specific needs through surveys, through other reports that are industry reports themselves, and through our customers to understand what particular solutions are our customers actually looking for, and how can we actually utilize the technology that Databricks has built to help satisfy some of those. For example, within life sciences, we're looking at R&D productivity, supply chain and manufacturing, and commercial effectiveness. We'll be talking about commercial effectiveness today. And within healthcare, we're looking at streamlining operations, improving provider quality network management, as well as delivering better patient outcomes and experiences. Working with our partners, we can develop a lot of technology that can be used by our customers in order to satisfy these particular needs, such as how do we deliver provider next best action, how do we generate real-world evidence, and how do we really personalize the patient engagement experience. So let's talk a little bit about commercial effectiveness on a data intelligence platform. So for a lot of our customers today, when we talk to them, we understand that they already have a lot of different systems that are able to provide them information on how their sales revenue is working. And this operates from both a pharma perspective, where we're looking at sales reports associated with different drug, biologics, and medtech devices, and also from the hospital engagements when we look at the sales associated with how the patient-doctor interaction is going and what particular services were actually purchased. A lot of times, a lot of clients already pull in this information like the sales engagements reporting. They may be pulling in real-time client interaction monitoring if they're utilizing one of the popular EHR systems out there. But what they're really trying to figure out is how they can optimize this experience for a lot of folks within the healthcare and life sciences industry today. There's a lot of similarity between this and within a retail space or within a financial services space, except our environment is going to have more regulated requirements. And very importantly, we are aiming for a better patient outcome. So we're looking for a medical outcome out of this as well. And for customers, when they're trying to move more into this kind of recommendation, forecasting off of the actual patients today and different drug sales, what they're finding is that there's going to be limitations in terms of how they can actually do that. And that's because a lot of their data today is siloed in multiple different systems. And what Databricks has been working very heavily on is working with these upstream data providers in order to break down those silos and provide direct access to that information. And we do this through our SIs and our ISV partnerships. Now, when we can actually break that down, then we can actually start moving to what we call the predictive, the prescriptive, and the automated decision-making aspects associated with commercial effectiveness. So if you really think about it right now, for a lot of our customers, they're actually more in what we call the red state, in which they're doing engagement reporting, client interaction monitoring. They're basically doing reports and audits. But what they're really trying to do is they're trying to figure out, well, what is my next best action? How can I actually improve my revenue? How can I improve how can we improve customer satisfaction and reduce customer churn or patient churn? And that says, how can I actually build interactive modeling and forecasting and predictive modeling, as well as how can I actually make recommendations from a provider perspective to also from a sales perspective to HCPs, and eventually, how can I actually provide automated decision-making by automating the client engagement itself? So what we want to do with Databricks is we can use our technology to really drive our customers from the left side of this curve over to the right side of this curve, and that drastically increases their competitive advantage. Now, in order to do that, we have to look at the many different diverse data inputs that are involved in commercial effectiveness. If you think about how commercial effectiveness works today, a lot of folks are pulling their data in from Salesforce systems and from Viva systems through customer relational management when we're operating within that particular space. But there's a lot more to that. In order to build a better personalized engagement with the actual target you're speaking to from the sales perspective, you actually want to get a better understanding of who you're speaking to and what particular industry publications they've had. What is the speaking engagements? Do they have any affiliations? You basically want a better idea of who that person is as a person themselves in order to really figure out whether or not they will be able to benefit from utilizing any kind of particular brand technology or brand drug. So we're looking at industry publications, speaking engagements, interactions with different competitors, clinical trial participations within this particular space. And we also are looking at things like publications, product sentiments, sales interactions, email engagements, marketing programs, samples. And this is all very important information pulling from the CRM. But we're also going to look for some personalized information, such as the degree, education history. Are they actually a specialist within the medical space itself? And what kind of organization and network are they part of? All of this information comes from many different diverse data inputs, and importantly, is going to be siloed across many different systems. What we can do at Databricks is you can work on how we can bring in all those different data sets together into a single holistic environment where you can actually start using that data and augmenting it with each other and mixing and matching to get some information. And that's because we can actually connect all of our data from within Databricks platform itself. We like to think of this as almost like a customer 360. We do talk about it mostly within life sciences, but it is also very valid within healthcare itself. And that's where we can pull in things like medical information, your EHR, your claims, your RX data, and your commercial data, such as your provider information, contracts and pricing from MDF files, CRM or HCP prescribing information, as well as operational data, such as supply chain and product demand, and financial information, such as sales performance and forecasting. When all this data goes into the Databricks Data Intelligence platform, it can be used to power a lot of major use cases that will go into commercial effectiveness. Like, how do we look at brand performance? How is a particular drug working within a market today? Is the market actually saturated? Is there a large enough TAM in order to introduce a different drug into this market? We can also look at multi-channel reporting. So that will be a situation of omnichannel, which is, well, is our current method of actually marketing to our consumers working? Do email campaigns work better? Do cell phone campaigns work better? Are SMS messaging actually working? Is that reaching our particular consumers? Do we need to have television ads or YouTube ads? And we can also look at sales of market segmentation to build these kinds of market baskets to determine what we call the SAM, the SOM, and the TAM. So what is the total available market? Where should we actually be targeting? And which one are we going to target within the next year? We can also look at HTTP 360 engagement, where we can have a better understanding of which particular providers may be more amenable to these particular products that we'd be selling. This is mostly because they have the correct client base for this, as well as next best action. And what is the next best thing to actually speak to these providers about? Or we're in the healthcare space, what is the next best action for the provider to take as well? Now, obviously, there will be a lot of supply chains in this as well, so we can look at supply chain optimization and demand forecasting. When we can marry all these different kinds of data sources together, and then we can actually provide all these different reports, that's when we can think about how we can actually improve the commercial effectiveness of an organization as a whole. And to do that, we're going to go a little bit technical right now and I'll talk about the different architectures that are built specifically for this. So for a lot of our clients today, they're looking at understanding how they can basically break down these silos and have this single source of truth. So they build out this kind of concept known as a lakehouse, where you basically have all the data stored in the same space. And then you have the ability to process that data using different product lenses, such as I can build decision support services using data science models. I can build orchestration pipelines using engineering technology for Spark and our Databricks technology. And I can also build dashboarding reports on top of this for our business intelligence and for our executive needs. And very importantly, we can also build something called a next best action assistant for commercial effectiveness. Now, Fractal is going to go a little bit more into their particular product and how that's built specifically on top of Databricks. If there's a siren in my background, I'm sorry, that's just New York City. And when we have the Pharma NBA assistant, what they'll talk about is how they've actually deployed that at different customers. So when we think about next best action, what we have to really think about is how we can equip commercial teams with recommendations that were powered by different platforms like Databricks and generative AI technologies to really improve the HCP interaction between a sales member and an HCP. And that helps them figure out how they can actually better recommend a drug or sell a drug. There's going to be a section regarding data preparation. So we have to synthesize vast amounts of information, as we saw before, including product claims, past HCP interactions, customer sentiment. And then we're also going to have to find out how we can look at the recommended message and content for the next HCP interaction. And when it comes to the HCP interaction, we're working with many clients today to transcribe, summarize conversations, and we can pull out key points associated with that, get the sentiment of the conversation itself, and really importantly, start providing real-time information and suggestions, as well as suggesting what is an effective follow-up for the particular HCP interaction. As we move further within the data intelligence platform and more on the right side of that data maturity curve, we'll be able to achieve more of this in an automated fashion. And then very importantly, we'll look at things like performance evaluation, where we want to assess commercial teams, also on the engagement itself. So I understand most commercial teams will be compensated based off of RX volume, so how many scripts that they can sell. But we also want to understand whether or not we can actually have more RX volume by having a better interaction of the HCP. We can analyze a lot of commercial team performance using natural language systems like our AI BI Genie systems or Lakeview dashboards. We're going to go into that a little bit later as a demo. And we can understand a lot of the sales rep and how we can actually onboard them much quicker and mitigate gaps in training. All of this is going to be fueled by something like the Databricks Data Intelligence Platform, which is able to provide end-to-end generative AI development of our Mosaic AI systems. We can query your data today using natural language processing with our AI BI systems in a secure, regulated manner. And we can simplify data management with our Lakeflow Connect pipelines and our workflows, as well as utilize our very powerful data serving layer of our Databricks SQL. So I'm going to go through a little bit of the architectures. We won't go too much into this because we'll go into the demonstration and we want to provide some time for Fractal. But let's look a little bit on the level 100 systems and how we can build the next best action on a commercial lakehouse today. For a lot of our customers, what really matters is to understand the concept of a data source and a data product. So the data source is going to be where you're pulling your information today. That's Salesforce, that's Viva, that's HubSpot, that's some kind of document store. And what you're really looking for from a commercial effectiveness standpoint is reports about, well, how's my pipeline doing? What is my quota looking like? What about my customer 360? And very importantly, in order to improve, we want to look at what is the next best action from a recommendation section. How do we actually plan out our territory and how to do pricing planning for these particular products? Now, in order to get between the data sources and data products, that's where a lot of the IT organizations are operating today for our customers. They're going to operate a data ingestion platform. And also, very importantly, if they are more modern, they'll have a lakehouse, or they'll probably have a traditional warehouse and a data science stack. What Databricks can do here is we're one component of this entire system that's actually quite important. We can provide a data warehousing stack as well as a machine learning stack, and we can wrap that all with this Unity catalog governance system. So to ensure that we're able to, one, pull in data from a lot of your existing upstream sources, and very importantly, egress that data out when we need. And we can also importantly store things like meeting notes, sales quotas, contracts, territories, and customer feedback. And we can serve that to a lot of existing applications or new applications that you'll be building. From the machine learning perspective, we can also utilize that large amount of data that traditionally was siloed away from data science in order to start building better forecasting models and better recommendation engines. So we can look at what a better quota forecast is. Is profit model the best model, or do you want to try another tree-based method? We can look at next best action for recommender systems. We can look at territory forecasts, pipeline forecasts, and very importantly, we can start building risk-based modeling on top of this. Now, once you start taking that machine learning section and you start building these forecasting, these recommendations off the warehousing systems, you're going to be crossing a very, very large barrier, which is traditionally very difficult because when you do make that, you're starting to make decisions based off of algorithms rather than based off of a lot of regular interactions. This automation is going to require a lot of governance off of this. And that's where Databricks' Unity catalog system really comes in. We provide audit logs, we provide data lineage information, we have what are called inferencing tables for a lot of your machine learning pipelines. So anything that's coming out, we actually have records of. And very importantly, we're also HIPAA compliant. So if we're working with PHI and PII data, we have the ability to process that information as well. Now, as these products go out, what will likely happen is that there will be a synchronization or a feedback loop in order to understand better, like, was this recommendation actually working? How do we provide information about whether or not it actually worked to really go back into our data sources and go through this entire pipeline again, which is basically a flywheel effect to drastically improve our commercial effectiveness over time. Now, we are operating on all the different clouds today. So we have our AWS architectures, our Azure architectures, and our GCP architecture. So I'm going to go through this very quickly. So we do operate off of these native systems. And let's go more into about the design of our actual systems for a commercial lakehouse today. So what Fractal is going to go through, so I'm going to breeze through this, is how they're going to build this out and how they actually build out a medallion architecture to really process that information as it comes in. So how do they pull in data from those different upstream sources like Viva? We have a Viva connector, Salesforce, we have our Lakeflow connector, as well as our Delta sharing technology, HubSpot, IoT devices, and MSDS documents. How do you pull in that data, put it into a raw particular form today, build a silver layer on top of that with the facts of dimensions tables, and then build out our gold layer information for tables for forecasts as well as recommendations. And very importantly, as part of this auditing mechanism, how do we build a quarantine layer? So if we do encounter something that's pretty strange within the system, we can actually flag it. This is something that Fractal is going to talk about more extensively later. Now at Databricks, we do understand this is really important for our customers. So we've actually worked on building out some of this technology ourselves via our solutions accelerators. So Databricks Solutions Accelerators are technologies that are developed by our field engineering organization, specifically built to address some of the needs of our customers today in a more generic, holistic fashion. So for example, many of our customers were coming to us saying, I have a lot of information regarding our clients today. I have information about HCPs, I have information about patients. I just don't know how to combine all that information together to actually get some useful insights from there. I know it's a lot of data and I think there's something there, but I'm not quite sure how to use it. Well, we've actually built out an omni-channel prediction model for this with some of our partners. And this particular solution actually harnesses the power of our AI ML models in order to better elevate the customer engagement with a lot of HCP professionals between the sales agent and the actual provider. So we utilize advanced machine learning techniques and sophisticated data analyses to actually get a better idea of how the interaction was going and what probably is going to be the next best action for recommendation off of this. Fractal will be providing their solution and showcasing how they will do it, but we also have a solution accelerator for this as well. And very importantly, as we're building out our systems, we're also trying to figure out how we can actually build out more powerful sales agents utilizing agentic workflows today. So we're looking at things like a pharma commercial navigators and a sales rep IQ. So how do we actually have a real-time AI system that advises pharma reps on who to engage, when to engage, and what to share? And that's going to involve multiple different components from a multi-orchestration engine. We'll go into a little bit of this in today's demo before we move over to Fractal. We talk about how we can actually utilize your existing data from your CRM systems and how we can get insights from those using AI BI technologies like Genie. So how we can pull that real-time information out How do we build knowledge agents and knowledge graphs that are able to grasp information from multiple different technologies and different publications and systems and provide that information to a simple insight that you can utilize? How do we provide recommendations on who to actually contact, what content to actually deliver? And even importantly, how do we actually generate content? And how do we look at engagements? And how do we actually work with your CRM automation tools like Viva and Salesforce? We do have several customer successes off of this one. I will go over, I think, one or two before I go on. And at Amgen, we did work with them specifically on building out a solution to help them with the forecasting and HB segmentation and patient journey. So they had challenges about whether or not they could support AI ML at scale. And they're really importantly trying to figure out how they incorporate drug and healthcare professional data to target their commercial activities. And there's more than a dozen data feeds incorporated into these next best action models. For a lot of our customers today, there's going to be an extensive number of different data feeds that you're going to utilize. And very importantly, as you utilize, I would say, non-standard data feeds, information even about the weather or about different political climate and environments, we'll be able to see very interesting ways of actually generating more powerful results from non-standard data sources. So with Databricks, Amgen delivered almost 300 cross-functional analytics and AI projects, but a number of use cases pointed at commercial effectiveness, including forecasting, HPC segmentation, and patient journey. The impact was pretty large. So 11% uplift in sales success of physicians and over $6.4 million in saved infrastructure costs annually. We have a similar technology over at Merck, where Merck's commercial team had an inefficient data pipeline that hindered their ability to understand exactly how they were selling to a lot of folks today. And they wanted to really importantly build out a system that would actually break down those silos and generate a holistic data model. So their fragmented structure created a lot of bottlenecks and slowed the developments of their AI and generative AI solutions. With Databricks, they can actually utilize our data intelligence platform to actually build generative AI-ready data sets, which they call GRDs for a lot of commercial analytics. This included support for early RAG applications that help them understand brand performance for their different solutions today. So this would be their biologics and medtechs. The impact was a 40% acceleration of data insights due to reduced data prep time, as well as a 60% minimization of business rule duplication, and a third cost savings by consolidating end-to-end operations. So what this really means is that with Databricks, you can actually have a solution that's going to help you build a holistic platform that allows you to really address a lot of challenges associated with commercial effectiveness. And because we are able to integrate with so many different data sets, we're able to determine with you how we can actually improve brand recognition and reduce churn for a lot of your products today. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go do a small walkthrough of the actual Databricks platform for folks here. So when you go to Databricks, this is actually what Databricks looks like. For a lot of folks, this is probably a lot of information, and I completely agree. Our Databricks product is split into multiple different components, including our data engineering, which is going to be via our job runs and orchestration layer, our regular workspace and notebook products for collaborative work between multiple different parties within the platform, as well as our SQL warehousing technology, which allows you to basically surface data, create dashboards, leverage our Genie-based systems, and even create alerts. And very importantly, we also have a concept known as AI and ML within our systems. So we have the ability to build different agents. So we have generative AI technologies built in, as well as utilizing standard machine learning technologies for ML flow systems. We can even serve machine learning models for you, so you can actually utilize that, or we can use our foundational models. We do support things like Claude from Anthropic. We support OpenAI's ChatGPT. We support AI21. We support a variety in Llama. So we support Llama 3 and Llama 4 extensively within our product as well. So what we can do is when it comes to next best action, we actually ingest in this information, and we can actually put that within our catalog, which is located over here. So what happens when you put it within Unity Catalog is that we now actually start labeling information specifically for you that is able to provide more details about how we can actually utilize that data and get insights. So I'm going to go to the catalog now. In fact, I click this, you'll see a catalog. And I'm going to go over here where I already have this open. This is our next best action omni-channel catalog. And what it contains information is about asset availability, customer data, engagement goals, historical data, minimum gaps, mixed media outputs, priorities, and vendor contracts. And very importantly, you'll notice that as with most folks, these data sets do not contain a lot of information. And this is the beginning of where we can start talking about our data intelligence and how it really helps. Because we don't have information about this particular model, let's press this AI generate button. What's going to happen to this AI generate button now is we're going to utilize the data intelligence of our data intelligence platform to understand better what this particular data set contains. So it says right here, it contains crucial personalized customer engagement strategies across different channels, mixed media channels in this case, and it's built to optimize marketing efforts and enhance customer satisfaction. It does serve as a central repository for historical customer interactions. Now we have the ability to edit this or actually accept this. And when you accept this, this means when anybody is looking into this particular data set, they'll receive this particular description, which will help you in terms of your data discovery and data democratization. If I go into any one of these, let's say customer data here, you can also see information specifically about the different schema available. This is not going to mean much to a lot of folks, but what will be really important is to understand that there is no data dictionary attached to this data either. For a lot of our customers today, they like to think, most folks have a thorough understanding of their data, but what we do find is that most folks don't have full data dictionaries for the data sets themselves. And this actually hampers innovation and a collaboration within an organization since folks don't quite understand what data they're utilizing. You can press the AI generate button here. And what's going to happen right now is using our data intelligence platform, we're going to start figuring out what we think each column actually means. So we can think about the HCP ID. This is a unique identifier for a healthcare professional, like an MPI ID. We can think about what the segments are. So these segments themselves correspond to different groupings of various HCPs into what we call marketing segments that we're going to target based off of demographics. We can look at what particular channel, what affinity that they have, and what's their IPP flag. Let's discard changes here. And if we go to the sample data, we'll see that level of information as well. So we can see the segments on the PCPs, this is on the cards. We can see the segments also belong to loyalists and enthusiasts, as well as mostly email channels and our affinity score of 0.32. Now, if you go back here, you'll see there's a huge number of data sets that we can utilize. And one of the major things that we started as a company was we want to get insights from big data. Now, we saw all sorts of different methods doing that, building out data science models, building out different SQL engines that allow people to query that information. It wasn't until I would say, the introduction of very powerful generative AI technologies that we saw another route that actually has proved to be very successful, which is the ability to ask questions of the data directly. So to do that, we actually go into our Genie systems, where if you go here, Genie, if we press Genie here, we can actually then create a space very quickly that allows us to specify which particular data we want to look at. What's going to happen now is it's going to pull in all this information, and it's going to allow us to dynamically query it off of this new space. Now, I already have a particular space set up, so we're going to go into the Omnichannel data room here. And you can see here, we have the exact same data sets, and we can ask questions of the data, such as what tables are there and how are they connected? We can get a short summary of that from the asset information. So it says there's 9 tables. We have information about asset availability across the mixed media channels, different constraints. We have information on what particular segments that an HCP belongs to. We have the engagement goal, historical data, min gap, mixed media output, priority, and vendor contract. This should look very similar to the output of the actual Unity catalog AI assistance in terms of a data dictionary generation, because it is going to be very similar technology. This allows folks to actually, very importantly, ask questions of their data as quickly as possible as it comes in real time. So I can ask a simple question like, what are the different channels represented in the data itself? And it can tell me right now that they use a particular data set called asset availability. And it says that, well, we have SF, we have our Medscape emails, headquarters emails, Viva emails, EDH emails, and Medscape alerts. And I can even ask other questions like, what are the top affinity scores for HCPs? And we can see the HCP affinity scores for this one. In fact, let me ask another question right now. What is the distribution of affinity scores among HCPs? These affinity scores correspond to whether or not this is going to be a good match between a product and a provider. So you can see what's happening right now behind the scenes as we're running these calculations. We're actually able to see these affinity scores over here. So we can see what that looks like. And I think we can also do something even better. Let's do a visualization off of this. Histogram. We can see here our different affinity scores. It's just pretty high off of this one. We can also make edits to the visualization itself. So we can actually provide a different way of seeing this. So let's say y-axis here, x-axis. And we can also provide different labels and annotations. Scatter. Okay. Now, we can take this information, particular data room, and we can actually do this repeatedly for different data sets that we have available. This is where we start talking about new products that Databricks has been developing specifically to make it easier for folks to get more information for next best action and recommendations to surface this level of data. This omni-channel data room is in a form of what we call an agent. So an agent is able to communicate with your information, grab insights from that data, and surface it back to you. And we're communicating in natural language processing right now. What we can also do is we can actually chain together multiple different agents in order to build out something that can actually answer more powerful questions. And we call those agents in our agents brick environment. So if I go to agent bricks today, so they have multiple different components such as information extraction, custom LLMs, knowledge assistant, and multi-agent supervisor. And if I click multi-agent supervisor, what this is actually going to do is it's going to let me chain together multiple different agents to answer a question. So this means I can actually utilize agents as experts in particular fields, and I can chain them together in order to try to provide questions that across multiple different data sets. So for example, I can put a Genie space or agent endpoint. I'm going to put a Genie space here and provide my omni-channel data room we just had before, which contains all the sales information. I can describe the content. This data room contains up-to-date sales data. And then I can add another agent over here. So let's try another agent here. And let's go with, I want CMS data. So let me look at our CMS claims. So this contains information about insurance claims, so the Medicaid area is set. I can create this agent, and what's going to happen now is that I can actually communicate with that. I already have this set up myself in order to speed up this process. If you go to what is known as the Omni-channel data room for the ML HLS next best action, you can see precisely this information. So for example, we have a description here. We have our agents for the Omni-channel data room, as well as our claims utilization. And very importantly, we can now communicate with this agent. Now, what we're seeing is from the Databricks UI, the ability to talk to this, but we can actually stretch this further into integrating with applications as well. So let's ask an agent a question about the particular data sets. What are the top providers? What are the... Actually, it's ask which HCPs have low affinity scores. We want to find out why they have low affinity scores. So we're generating a response right now. This may take a little bit of time because our infrastructure scales up and down for cost reasons in order to reduce your costs. While we're generating this response, we can also provide information about instructions according to this. So we can provide additional ways of prompting the agents themselves for the supervisor agent to provide information. And we can also actually configure it. So if I'm going to duplicate this tab, I can press improve quality. What will happen here is that we can now use labeled pairs and actually improve the quality of this agent over time. So it actually naturally learns utilizing our technology for unlabeled data. So we're just waiting for this generating response here. There we go. So it's going to now help us find information about healthcare professionals with low affinity scores. They're going to access our omni-channel marketing data. So they're going to utilize our omni-channel data room that we had just used before. This data room corresponded specifically to this Genie space. This particular Genie space that we just had generated before. So we can see here, it's pulled out that information, and that's our lowest scores. These particular HCPs have an affinity score of 0.14. And that's where we can start utilizing our technology to figure out, well, what should the next best action for this actually be? Now, for a lot of our customers, we like to think that they're going to always operate within our Databricks UI environment. We spend a lot of money to invest in order to build out such a great product. But we also understand that the end user itself is not going to be the most technical person. So what you can do is you can actually integrate this particular agent technology with a lot of third-party applications, including your CRM systems today, your orchestration workflows, and very importantly, even custom applications. So over at Databricks, we actually have the ability to run and deploy applications for you that you've developed for your particular end users. And that will be applications along the lines of those that are built within Streamlit or React or Gradio on our platform. Now, when you do build that application, you can leverage these exact same agents to provide the intelligence to your front-end applications themselves. And we'll have an example right now. Fractal will go through theirs later, and there'll be a very extensive use case for a productionized system. So let's go into this one. So this is our pharma sales assistant that we've built out. At Databricks, we're not actually in a position of selling this application. We're working with a lot of our partners in order to build similar applications for our customers like Fractal. And what you can do here is you can see how we can surface that same level of information that we had within our catalog itself into a full-fledged user interface that folks would understand a little bit better on the sales side. And very importantly, we have information about our scheduling, our automated AI power alerts. We can actually integrate with a lot of third-party applications like OpenStreetMaps and look at physician script performance. And we can actually integrate with a chatbot system. So this is where we'd start talking about how we are shifting away from just data and IT, and we're shifting more towards those kinds of business value outcomes that folks are looking for today. Now, for a lot of sales associates, this is going to be table stake information. That's what they need to see. And applications that will provide this won't be as useful to them. But they also want to ask questions of the data, and they don't want to go through what we call dashboard proliferation. Often they will not have a lot of the SQL querying skills necessary in order to query the CRM systems themselves. So they're going to rely more on natural language processing or asking folks and filing tickets to get that information. But we can actually use our chatbot instead. So this leverages our multi-supervisor agent framework, and we can go, well, what is my quota forecast for this quarter? Am I actually on target? So this is going to request information from the forecasting model, so that same data that's located in the omni-channel data room, and it'll provide us information. And very importantly, what we're going to see in this particular chatbot that we're seeing right now, such as what meeting should I focus on this week, is another section of our data intelligence concept, where the context associated with this particular chatbot is specifically for the sales agent themselves, overarching across all of their book of business. But we can also look at the information specifically for any particular doctor as well. So if I switch context to, let's say, Dr. Anthony Marcus, you'll see that now the information within the agent themselves is now going to be specifically on the interaction between Dr. Anthony Marcus and the particular drug I'm selling as a sales associate, rather than how I'm doing from an administrative perspective in general. So this is a good sneak peek of showcasing how we can actually really figure out how we can improve commercial effectiveness using Databricks technology. And that means how we can actually store that information from many different sources of data, then how we can actually surface that level of information using Genie Insights, and how we can leverage those Genie Insights to build more powerful agents using our Agentbricks technology, and then eventually how we can integrate that with applications that you can deploy today or integrate with existing applications that you already have to provide access to this particular data sets. I'm actually going to switch this over now to, first I'll see if we have any questions within our chat systems.
Nothing at the moment, Mark.
Okay, I hope I haven't been going too fast for people. All right, otherwise, I'm now going to pass it over to Sagar Shah from Fractal Analytics. He is the head of their pharma division, and he's going to talk a bit about their technology and how they can actually, very importantly, deploy this in production for a lot of our customers today.
Thanks, Mark. That was a great session. Appreciate it. I'm going to start sharing my screen. A second. Can you see my screen? Hopefully you can.
We see your speaker notes.
Yep, we can see the screen.
All right.
Looks good.
Speaker notes. Okay. Awesome. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Databricks, for this opportunity to collaborate and partner on this. I had the Pharma Practice at Fractal. Quick intro, Fractal is a AI company since 25 years, serving 100 plus Fortune 500 companies, including pharma, where we have 15 plus Fortune 100 clients, where we are implementing solutions like these. And of course, pharma, today's challenges at pharma, including innovation, efficiency, loss of exclusivity, and so on. But the topic of today, which is connected, is the omnichannel challenge, right, of HCP engagement, where there is a mix of multi-channel communication by field teams for several drugs in several countries, and each of these have to be customized. So country specificity with therapeutic area leads to proliferation of content, channels, messaging, and it's also a combination of whether it's relationship driven or do you have limited access. Multiple channels, of course, own channels as well, third party adds to the complexity. Therapeutic area types itself optimizes it's almost like a paradox on field force optimization, where there is small field force for rare disease versus large for specialty care. And then finally, the ethical and regulatory challenges or compliance expectations in each country are different. So we have to follow all the protocols. Now, to enable this, of course, we have had traditional systems, omnichannel, next best actions, which have been implemented, but they've not achieved the impact that they were supposed to, because of lack of trust in recommendation by field force because of generic recommendations, one size fits all kind of recommendations for multiple therapeutic areas and countries. Also, there have been a black boxing of products which are less agile, which are not explaining the model outputs of why a particular recommendation was shared. And then finally, it's more sales focused rather than outcome focused. We are trying to solve these problems by introducing an omnichannel decision engine, which is open. It can be leveraged by any therapeutic area, any country at scale. It's agile so that there is control with the end users of the systems, as well as it is a very HCP focused recommendation engine. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, and also I'm going to show an end-to-end demo of what we have built successfully with Databricks and productionized it for clients. So let's go in quickly. And I know I have a little more time than I thought I would, so I will go a little deeper today. Um, Definitely, we want to align to the brand strategy, the execution strategy that sales teams have for each particular brand and therapeutic area. To ensure that happens, we don't want to send irrelevant content through various channels to HCPs. Again, to do that, we need to go deeper into every level of the data set at HCP level, n equal to 1 at each field force level. And we don't want to create generic recommendations, which may damage reputation and relationships and also waste resources in the process. Um, Also, the execution readiness is fairly important, where we believe user adoption depends on whether the co-creation happened with the users rather than post-hoc change management, where we are creating a product or an AI model or a digital product and expecting users to change their behavior. We need to work with the field teams with the end goal in mind to create the right tailored next best action models, omnichannel decision models, including some test and learn and including some marketing ROI models, which can align to how they work, what they already know, and give them flexibility. If the recommendation is not right, they should be able to dismiss it. That feedback should go in the HCP 360 or the data model, which Mark talked about. And then that should be used in the AI model going forward. So machine learning, including the feedback, which is an always on system, is fairly important. Also, there should be a AI upskilling to all the teams involved so that they're able to leverage the technology to the fullest. And we've been able to do all of this together with Databricks. I'm going to share a multi-agentic set of workflows that we have been able to implement. I'm going to talk about only two today, Omnichannel Decision Engine, including Next Best Action and Marketing Mix. But there are many others which we have implemented, like content tagging, medical, legal, regulatory review, demand forecasting, smart pricing, and so on. Mark touched upon some of these already as well. Now, the idea about workflow, a multi-agentic workflows is we want to reimagine the decisions, how they are taken by humans, and can agents take those decisions on humans' behalf, not just execute tasks, but also take decisions. And to enable those autonomous agents, we have to really deeply understand the workflows, which requires sitting with the users, understanding their deep day in the lives, what processes they are following, and really map out how we can reimagine from as is to be, and then introduce the right agents at the right time without inculcating any risk in the process, which may get introduced if we are completely reliant on agents. So we are having a balanced approach of how we implement agents in the system. But definitely, machine learning and agents combined can drive a lot of innovation and efficiency in many workflows in healthcare and pharma. So I'll start by explaining the omni-channel decision engine, which is what you see on the screen. Now, this is a little bit of an eye chart. Let me go through step by step. Mark touched quite deeply upon all the data foundations, the various types of data, HCP demographics, emails, alerts, banner, web visits, face-to-face events, calls, claims data, referrals data, marketing flags, campaign masters, brand strategy data, consent data, segmentation, tagged content, which you may have in your various platforms. Now, all of these data sets need to be ingested to our erstwhile database data lake on Databricks, as Mark suggested, and create an automated data model. Now, that data model is fairly important as a data product or HCP 360 or feature store in my past life to be able to base the right insight generation capabilities, the AI model capabilities, or even querying capabilities, what we saw Mark beautifully explained and displayed. So this HCP 360 is the first fundamental step of setting up successful agentic AI or AI applications. And based on this, the quality of the data and the right governed data existing at HCP 360, then we have an AI module, which is basically an intelligence module, which can run various types of algorithms, and it can run ensemble of algorithms to solve a particular business problem. Now, these can be a set of different types of model. You can say, I want to segment my HCPs. I want to find out which HCP to target next. Which sequence of events should I execute for each particular HCP? Which channels should I use for a particular HCP? We saw digital affinities that the affinities that Mark showed, right? So all of that data is also going to be used to prioritize. And this is you can imagine like a multi-dimensional model on the eigenvalues here, which we are using. So it's not a linear kind of a model. So that's why deep learning and collaborative filtering and all those kinds of AI algorithms will also get used. But we will also have an explainable model. So the field force should have a visibility into why a particular decision or recommendation is being recommended. So that lack of transparency problem has to be removed from a decision engine. So that's where this recommendations with explanation comes in. That's fed into a consumption platform, which is part of the decision engine, which has dashboards, which has a query interface, and it can be integrated into our end user platforms like Viva, SFMC, and so on. Now, this is where the traditional NVX stops. Where we are suggesting, which is absolutely required now, is there is a feedback loop, and also there is an ad hoc field assist, what Mark showed as a sales rep assist uh, as the module, right? That is absolutely required, because while reviewing the next best actions and the sequence, a field agent or sales person may want more interaction to understand deeper about the HCP, about the channel, about the message, about the content, about the history of the HCP, history of his own behavior, how many recommendations has he suggested, dismissed, and so on. So that's a query interface we are providing, and I'm going to show you that interface today called HCP Genie. It's similar to what Databricks also names it. And then that feedback also goes into the HCP 360. So if, let's say, a field agent is not agreeing with the recommendation, they might say, hey, I dismissed this recommendation. I don't agree with it. That dismissal also gives a weightage to the data set. And there is another feature engineering which incorporates in the AI model. So it's an always on feedback loops that in continuously enhancing the model, the AI model, along with providing flexibility and agility to the end users so that they can rely on the system. If they don't trust a recommendation, they can make a change. They can recommend a change in the model itself. And eventually, we also want to measure how our content is performing. So the measurement of all our content, all our channels, all the marketing spends that we have across various channels, that's covered using our marketing mix framework, which we have three different types of models: short term, medium term, long term, and test and learn. So short term is fairly standard, like marketing mix attribution models have existed for 20 years. We run those as an automated engine. Then there are long-term attribution models, multi-touch attribution models, and finally a test and learn framework as well. All of these can be integrated as a single decision engine or a platform. Now, many companies have implemented parts of this. We have also done that for many companies where they don't want to do entirely everything in one go because it can be a lot. But I think the time is right for now because of Databricks, Fractal, and technologies existing. We can do all of it pretty quickly and accurately. So the time is right, and this solves the problem of the lack of trust and enhanced HCP engagement. Um, I am going to move forward to show you a few examples. So where the potential impact of these kind of solutions is huge. You can imagine the uplift that this generates, suggestion acceptance of 50% plus, scale to 10 countries, all brands within a year. So this engine can really create a lot of impact across many pharma companies that are struggling to enter new launch, new brands, new therapeutic areas because of LOEs. This is the right way to think about how to scale using multi-agentic systems. I'm going to now jump on to the demo. And I don't see any questions as such, so I'm just going to continue.
Hey,
Hopefully you
wait,
can.
for a second there. So
Yes, Mark.
Sagar, we had a question specifically if they're using vector embeddings for unstructured data. I think we're going to answer that question live, but it looks like Indrajit actually already answered it. But can you answer it live?
Yes, I can. The answer is yes. We are using it. Is that the only question, or is there a deeper question? Sorry, I can't see the Q&A.
So Sagar, there is a question around whether we are using unstructured data or embeddings for the unstructured data or not. So I already answered it. So
Okay.
we are using, and Databricks provides all the capabilities to store it. So yes, we are using vector embeddings for storing and managing the unstructured data. Yeah.
So just enhancing that answer a little bit, there is a unstructured data both in terms of text as well as images, because there is a content module that we are saying the tagged content is also part of our HCP 360, like flyers, banners, emails with subject headings and email body and the image within the email. So all of that is also a part of HCP 360 here. I hope that answers the question. I don't have a feedback mechanism, so I'm going to continue uh, here. So this is the Fractal platform, and as I mentioned, we have our own platform which we integrate with Databricks as a platform on data platform. We call it Next Best Action here as the module of Cogentic. Within Next Best Action, you see three modules here, sub-modules. This is the data module, the decisioning module, the platform, and the consumption platform. So imagine a data, decisioning, consumption. Now within the data, I'm not going to go into a lot of depth. Mark already showed everything there is to this lineage, cataloging, ingestion. He showed the Databricks platform. So that's exactly these two pieces. I'm going to just click on the business rules part. I feel it's fairly important because this is not being provided by many companies in the past and the traditional systems. So what business rules is essentially doing is helping AI understand business and providing operational constraints. It's like an OR level of constraints. Uh, for example, if we know, if let's say if Mark as a sales guy, as a field force person for a pharma, knows that in the last maybe 3 months, we have reached out to, let's say, Dr. Indrajit, HCP Indrajit, and they were disappointed by one of the messaging, for example. The field has this information in their brain, which is not codified in any data set right now. So they may want to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to reach out to this doctor. So maybe the gap of the communication should be higher, maybe 6 weeks or 10 weeks. Now, this particular intelligence has to be provided to the model, and that's where these we've just mentioned a few of the most highly likely field suggestions that can go in. The email gap, for example, you should not be sending, don't create digital fatigue for HCPs. If you keep sending emails every week, they're going to be put off. All of us are put off by frequent emails, right? And so on. So you can provide those details here. It's open. You can use it, change it, keep changing for every therapeutic area and country. Even within a therapeutic area, have multiple branch of different strategies and so on. And also by territory, you can see that I want a different level within Florida versus, let's say, a New Jersey, and so on, right? So this is fairly critical. It's like a go, no go for a model to decide which direction to go. Hopefully that is clear. I'll go back. So that we covered the data module and the business control center. Now comes the decision platform. Well, this is where we are creating an HCP 360, which Mark referred to as well. So what we are doing, let me go back. I'm going to log in again so that it starts from fresh data set. Yeah, this is. So imagine I have these data sets: master HCP data, digital interactions data, events data that they attended, the number of calls we did for every HCP, emails, CRM, affinities, and content. Right now, you want to integrate all of this into a single data model, database, whatever you want to call it, or harmonize them with left joins, essentially, at a massive scale. So that's what this button is going to do. Click to it. It's harmonizing all the data. This is creating a single master, and then you can select which features you want to use in the model. Now, of course, we can select all, or you can intelligently select a few which you think are relevant, like number of calls I feel is relevant, emails I feel is relevant, promoter score relevant, adoption I think relevant, behavior rate, maybe open click rate. I don't believe in it. Just an example. So I'll declick it, right? And I believe from the model, I want to be able to find the next best channel, next best time of communication or impact engagement, next best message or content type, and next best indication that I should reach out for. So I think I want all of them. So I'll just go ahead and click build. So it's going to build my HCP 360, right, with all of these features. This is essentially creating a data model, but more visually, graphically. And then I'm going to click for next best action prioritization. So it created an HCP Caroline Walker in this specialty in a target segment with a customer engagement index. It's a particular index on digital affinity, digital engagement. The next best channel is face to face. Field person should meet Caroline face to face in the afternoon with the dosing and administration messaging for melanoma. Now, this is a very specific action that was recommended by the model. As you can imagine, there are 50,000 plus actions here for various HCP combinations based on the NBA models. Now, usually we export these, which get exported to, let's say, Databricks connector platform, and then it can be reused by what Mark just showed, right? That engine can be used. Also, you can go to, let's say, a field person says, I want to know more about Caroline. I want to go deeper into where does Caroline what is her affiliation? So she's affiliated to Farber Cancer Institute. Okay, I get it. Then I want to understand my next action was to meet about dosing and administration in the afternoon. First, let me understand why. Why did the model say this? HCP has not engaged with the HQ on patient in the last 13 weeks. So basically, she's not engaged for 3 months now. So I better go and meet her in person and understand what's going on and help her. Now, as a field person, I can go and see what has been the journey of this HCP with me. The patients are interested. There was an email, there's a phone, there's an email. So I know the history of interaction. I also know the engagement notes of this is the unstructured data that I'm referring to that somebody asked a question for. It's already part of this. Then there is a trend on how she's prescribing what is, just a linear model of how it's going, some data related to access, and then patient switching profile. So some of these are relevant right now, but I feel like maybe I don't want to accept this recommendation. Maybe Caroline is not going to engage. Then I'm going to press on dismiss. I have an option to say dismiss, and also the reason to dismiss. we believe she's not responded to emails because she opted out of email or something else, right? I can just say she has moved or retired, for example. So maybe a valid reason, which I know of, which may not be updated in the database. So I'm just going to click OK. So it was dismissed. Now this feedback is going to the HCP 360 as a feature. And the next time the model runs, the model will know that, hey, Karen is retired. Let's not engage with her because it's a wasted resource to send emails and to meet her and so on, with due respect, right? So that's sort of the HCP persona depth that we're going into. Now let's go back. We looked at data, business control, decisioning, prioritization, and persona. Now I'm going to jump to what we have developed as a HCP gene, which is similar to what Mark showed on the other side, on the data side. I'm going to say, hey, as a field person, I need to know a little bit more. So let me interact with the data ad hoc. Let me say, what are the top HCPs? I'm going to give basic question to reach out next week. Let's say I step on this, and it's going to basically, there are a few agents in the backend generating the insights. The insight generation is happening on the data that was HCP 360, including the behavioral markers that the next best action recommendation is generated. As you can see, very similar to what just Mark showed you, the thinking, planning agents are creating the response. And I know that, hey, I need to reach out to Jonas, Cleva, Harlan in these specialties with these next best channels, the time, engagement, and so on. So I'm getting a clear answer on what I need to do. Now I can keep on asking questions, right? I'll just go and go to some other. Okay, this was the same. Top HCPs. But I can ask this question, I'll get this graph, right? And I can keep on engaging like this. So that's sort of a new feature that we've added as well. And again, so the feedback was added, which goes in the model. The query engine is added, which is like the field assist engine. And you can ask any question on this. It'll be assisting your pre-prep before you meet an HCP. You can also add your data. So you met an HCP, you can say, hey, I met this person. This is what happened. So that post meeting notes can also be provided, which will also be integrated in the model going forward. So that's a little bit on the demo itself. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and open up to questions. Again, thank you, Databricks. And this was a great partnership to share how we are driving engagement with pharma customers and clients to really solve the pharma omnichannel engagement problem due to multi-channel, LOE upcoming. So there is a lot of new products and new R&D that's going on, which is going to commercialize into new therapeutic areas for most companies, which may mean to launch new field force or digital twins or omnichannel engines to optimize how we enhance HCP engagement for better patient outcomes. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Adam, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Mark, Sagar, both of you, thanks so much for presenting today. We'll leave the line open for a few more minutes just in case there are any questions that come in, but I think that we've been able to address them as they've come up. Feel free to ask questions in the Q&A function just below. One thing I wanted to share with folks as we're coming to the conclusion of today's webinar, Databricks, every year in June, we host our Data and AI Summit in San Francisco. It's our biggest event of the year. And then in the back half of the year, starting this month, we've been taking Data and AI Summit on tour, and we call it the Data and AI World Tour. It is coming to select cities near you. So if you're in America, we've got an upcoming event in Los Angeles on September 23rd. We'll be hosting our first Healthcare and Life Sciences Industry Forum. We've got two great organizations, including Gilead Sciences as well as Thermo Fisher Scientific. We welcome you to join us here, and I'll drop the link into the chat so you all have it. And there are a number of other events throughout the rest of the back half of this year where we'll be coming to the city. So take a look here. We'll also have a Healthcare and Life Sciences Industry Forum in New York City on November 13th. And looking forward to hopefully seeing a few of you folks there. I'm just going to take a quick look here at our chat just to see if we've got any other questions that have come in. Looks like none have come in so far. With all that being said, I think we can go ahead and conclude today's webinar. So, Mark and Sagar, we really appreciate your time. And for all of our attendees who've joined us today, very much so appreciate you tuning in for the last hour and a half or so. And looking forward to seeing you at future events at Databricks. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good afternoon. Talk soon.
See you
Thanks,
later.
everyone.
Thanks for
Yep.
joining.